like the idea that a voice can just go somewhere
uninvited, like a dirty thought in a nice clean mind.
This is The Liberal Lens, and I'm Jay, and today we're going to talk about Trump pardoning 77 people who were involved in trying to overthrow the 2020 election. And is Ghislaine Maxwell next? Trump has issued a proclamation granting full, complete, and unconditional pardons for individuals connected to the efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. The pardons cover federal offenses related to the 2020 election and the fake electric scheme. Now, let's be straight. This does not have anything to do with the state cases. He cannot pardon Giuliani and these guys from the state cases. So like Georgia, Michigan, etc. They can't be pardoned from state charges. But this pardon, which we're not even sure is legal, gives them cover from any charges they're not even charged with yet, which in itself is a whole nother legal ball of worms that they'll have to deal with. But this is coming on the brink of the Democrats giving in on the government shutdown, selling out the American people, and then Trump goes and pardons 77 people involved in trying to steal the 2020 election. Now, these pardons are symbolic in the fact that they can't have anything to do with the state cases, but it's also him trying to protect them from being charged further. I know that we saw Trump try to distance himself from Giuliani because Giuliani made himself look so bad after everything he did for New York in the 90s and how Giuliani was really loved by New Yorkers. He threw all that goodwill and grace away for Donald Trump. He got barred from being an attorney because of Donald Trump. So these are some of the things that Giuliani has done, carrying Trump's weight. So now Trump wants to repay. Rudy Giuliani, former personal lawyer to Trump, key figure in the fake electoral scheme after the 2020 elections. And then we have former Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, who was key in trying to get these fake electors to help overthrow the 2020 election. Sidney Powell, an attorney who gave Trump legal strategies on how to overthrow the 2020 election and try to stay in power. And then you have John Eastman, an attorney who was involved in alternate electors trying to come in to overthrow the election. And then Kenneth Chesborough, who is tied to fake electors to help try to overthrow the election. And there's a lot of others. Those names were just the top names, the heavy hitting names that people might know. So the crazy thing is these pardons apply to only federal charges, but trying to get in front of charges that haven't even happened yet is kind of crazy. And there's no legal precedent to this. So this is something that we may see brought up in the courts. I don't know if the Democrats are going to fight this fight right now or whatever, because this is setting up for Trump to maybe commute or pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend of many years and his business partner in human trafficking young girls. She is doing 20 years right now because she was convicted. So then Trump sent his people in to talk to her about the Epstein files. After they had that conversation, they got a hold of the DOJ, the Department of Justice, and had them move her to a minimum security prison, which is against the law because she is charged with human trafficking, so she cannot be put into a minimum. But now there's reports that she's getting concierge service, she's getting private meals, that they're giving her private meetings. All of this stuff is happening to her after the Trump administration had went out and spoke with her after they were saying that the files were bullshit. Do you see where this is leading? It's more covering up of the Epstein files. It's wild how far they will go to cover these up because we know Donald Trump is in it. We know that there is very powerful people in these Epstein files. And this just proves that the lengths that they will go to try to make sure that we don't ever see who is in the files and those people be held accountable. That this administration from the beginning has been covering up the Epstein files once they realized how much Donald Trump was in them. If we remember, Pam Bondi, they're on our desk. Kash Patel, they need to be released. The FBI has them all. And then they keep saying, 30,000 documents were already released. Yeah, what about the hundreds of thousands that you still have where all the important information is? And the fact that some of the stuff that they released is so redacted that you can't even read but like 12 words. But they want to keep acting like they gave up the Epstein files. They gave up all the information because, again, they think Americans are fucking stupid. So a whistleblower comes out and tells the House that Maxwell's attorney is preparing papers to either get her sentence commuted, a commutation, or a pardon. And this is the kind of stuff that Trump does in the middle of the night. Look at how he does this right after the Democrats cave, open the government, and all of that is taking over the headlines. Trump's people are like, great time to pardon 77 people involved in an attempt to steal an election. But now we're in a spot where they might be letting the world's most famous human trafficker out of prison to keep the information she has quiet. Why is she getting all of these special treatment? Why is she getting concierge service? Why is she getting special meals? Why is she getting private meetings? Why are they capitulating so much to this vile human being who helped wreck the lives of so many people? Because they're in the files. Wake up, America. This is where we're at. The pedo in chief is trying to make sure that nobody figures out how big of a pedo he is. Even though, again, we've heard him on Howard Stern. We've heard him on the recording on the bus. We've heard him say things. Do you remember the guy who said, if she wasn't my daughter, I'd date her? How fucking wild is that? He has been violating children and women for decades. And nobody has ever held this man or the rest of these powerful men accountable. And they're doing everything they can in their power to right now to make sure the Epstein files never get out, even if that means letting Maxwell walk after she was half of the problem with Jeffrey Epstein and all of this human trafficking and Epstein's Island and the parties. She is involved in all of it. And they're talking about commuting or pardoning her 20-year sentence. This stuff is getting out of control. You can't even make this up. So we're less than 12 hours from when 7 Democrats and an independent sold out the American people. Trump turns around, pardons 77 people. And now there's a leak that Maxwell's attorney has written up to get her sentence commuted or pardoned. And the Trump administration is actually considering it. And the fact that they didn't just shoot this down and say, there's no way this vile, sick human being is getting out early. We are not going to have any of this. And we are going to prosecute the rest of these people to the fullest extent of the law. That's what decent human beings would do. But if you're in the Epstein files, you're obviously not a decent human being. And it changes the game. It changes everything. Because if they get found out, it destroys everything these powerful people have tried to build. And the only thing oligarchs and people with power care about is more power. Billionaires don't need any more money. Accumulating more money once you have that much money is only about accumulating more power. And that's part of the problem right now is that this administration only cares about power. They hit the courts to try to take away power from everywhere else and give it to the executive branch. Donald Trump does not give a fuck about the American people. He is in the Epstein files. I don't give a shit what anybody has to say. We already know this because it's been reported that this is why the cover up, because his names were listed so many times. And when Kash Patel or Pam Bondi was asked about it in any hearings, they refused to answer the question. Why wouldn't they just say, no, Donald Trump is not in the files if he wasn't in the files? If somebody accused me of being in the files and I had the files, I would be giving everybody the files to clear my name, because that is one of the worst things you can be accused of, is being a pedo, being a sexual predator. And this is the guy running our country. All right, guys, keep your eyes open. Trump is on some wild bullshit right now, pardoning 77 people who tried to overthrow the government and tried to steal the election because, let's not forget all the J6ers he pardoned after their violent insurrection where officers were attacked, but they're supposed to be the party of law and order, but they didn't even care that officers were attacked. Trump still pardoned those people. All right, I don't even know what to say. The last 12 hours has just been crazy, and I can't believe the Democrats sold us out. But let's just keep fighting the fight, and when it's time to reelect these people, we just get rid of them, because that's the power we have right now. We make sure that these people who don't care about the American people are out of there and make them part of the unemployment rate. One world, one love. Deuces.
Everything's polluted. The environment, the government, the schools, you name it.
This radio person is the whole problem. Are we going to allow this guy to be heard by anyone who can turn a dial?
You out there? You listening?